MC Fireside Chats, a weekly show featuring conversations with thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and outdoor hospitality experts who share their insights to help your business succeed. Hosted by Brian Searl, the founder and CEO of Insider Perks, empowered by insights from Modern Campground, the most innovative news source in the industry.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of MC Fireside Chats. My name is Brian Searl with Insider Perks. Super excited to be here with you for the first episode of 2024. I was going to say another, but the first episode of 2024 for our glamping-focused show. Normally, we have a bunch of recurring guests here, but I guess everybody just decided to take more time off for the holidays. I don't know how I get a cushy job like that, or I can take off till January 10th, but I'm going to try to figure out how I secure that. But in the meantime, we've got two special guests here. Got Amanda from Glampology, and did I get it right? Missy from Daydreamer Domes. Missy, are you frozen? I think Missy's frozen.
I think so.
Okay. Well, Missy hopefully will be back and join us in a few minutes, but we've got Amanda here from Glampology. So, Amanda, how long? Let's just briefly introduce yourself and
Sure.
We'll figure out how we're going to fill an hour here. I don't know how we're going to do
that. Well, I'm Amanda. I just started Glampology last year. Pretty much my inspiration was when I went glamping under canvas out in Yellowstone 2 years ago. And, being in Boston where weather doesn't cooperate, it was a little difficult to envision a big campground here. But after looking for land and stuff, I got a little bit stuck and ended up going with the mobile glamping route. So that's what I currently do here in Boston. And since it's a break with the winter weather, I started doing indoors glamping, parties for kids. So it's kind of what I'm doing right now.
So when you say a couple of directions, right? We obviously have an hour till. We're going to talk to you anyway. So when you say indoor glamping, what does that mean?
So I have these little indoor teepee tents, which I call little glamping tents, and I bring mattresses and blankets and linens and a little decor so that kids can enjoy essentially glamping inside. It's been a huge hit with the little ones, so grateful for that.
Very nice. So you got started in Boston. You wanted to originally do, talk to us through your original dreams that you wanted to do. Not saying that this isn't what your dreams are now, but back then, right?
Yeah. So when I went glamping in Yellowstone, I came home and I was like, wow, this is something that I would love to bring here to New Hampshire or somewhere in the outskirts of Boston. But land was really hard to find. And it's just me. So I was doing it on my own. And it was really difficult. So I sort of changed my route and went the mobile route. Initially, my biggest dream would be doing weddings and stuff and having some land where I can set up some glamping tents and people can rent that out for that. But right now I'm focusing on just mobile and it's been working so far. So we'll see.
Well, that's awesome. There's nothing wrong with pivoting, right? I pivot probably 7 times a day and do U-turns and drive the wrong way down a street that I'm supposed to drive the other way on, right? Metaphorically speaking, right? So yeah, that's interesting. I've heard obviously of the mobile glamping. Missy was talking to you a little bit about it before. She's familiar before the show started with mobile glamping, and so I just never heard the indoor thing. But it seems like a really good way to get the younger generation interested in glamping without necessarily being hauled outside too, right?
Right. And, like I said, weather doesn't always cooperate out here. So, that's always a backup plan. If someone also rented a outdoor tent during the summer months, we can always bring it sort of inside. So, it was a huge directional change, but it's worked out so far. So.
Well, the weather isn't properly where I'm at either. It is, I'm in Calgary, Canada. It is negative 20 degrees Celsius here today, which in United States language is negative 4 degrees Fahrenheit. So, yeah, it's not warm here. Otherwise, I would be outside. I was talking to my business development representative on Slack this morning. She's like, "You're not going to do the show from outside today." I was like, "Well, is that a challenge? Like, give me $500." I will. Like, I've been skiing and learned how to do that when it was negative 25. So I've got the gear. But anyway, she wouldn't give me $500. She just laughed at me. Here I am inside with my little cuddly puppy dog.
Oh.
This is the only reason people watch the show. I know. Anyway, so Missy, welcome back.
Yes.
Please.
Thank you. Sorry, my child came in and turned off my monitor for me.
Good.
So, yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Tell us a little bit about what you have going on.
So my project's called Daydreamer Domes. We have been at it over there for about 3 years. So I bought an old golf course and I kind of rescued it, and it had not been a golf course in probably 8 or 9 years. So I built 20 geodesic domes. They're gold. We've got a pink pool that's surrounded by like 20,000 square feet of AstroTurf. We've got modified containers, and we rehabbed the old clubhouse. So inside the clubhouse, we're going to be running a tea house, and we've got a couple of sensory deprivation tanks, a speakeasy, and a little store. So we're just small team, and just, we're moving every day. So we should be open this summer.
I mean, I feel like you said, like, I run a glamping resort and this and this and this and this.
Yeah,
and this,
I overdid it.
Right? But we're just a small team. We're just doing this. But like,
right.
I feel like your ambitions are a little more than a small team.
What's that?
I said, I think your ambitions are a little bit bigger than a small team. You're maybe selling yourself short.
I need a bigger team is probably what I need. But, I'm trying to be very thoughtful about everything that I do. And I want it to look a certain way. It's, a high level of design, and we've really taken care with everything that we've done. So while we are a team of 3 right now, I also have an army of subcontractors that do a lot of work for me as well. So
how did this get all started? How did you envision taking over a golf course, right?
Yeah, so I have been glamping.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just going to say,
oh, that's okay.
Interesting opportunity, because like I've read for years about how golfing generally from a sport perspective is on the decline. So I bet you there are a lot of these opportunities out there with this beautiful land.
Yeah, so my property is a golf course since the 20s, and it was designed by really a world-renowned golf course architect at the time, and it just kind of fell into a state of disrepair. So there was no really infrastructure, no electrical or anything like that. But what I did have is, I inherited landscaping that was gorgeous. I inherited a massive sprinkler system. So we're still mowing like 65 acres right now, and the other like 90 acres have just we've just let it grow, and the people before us let it grow. So it's a really interesting juxtaposition between, well-maintained and Mad Max back there. So
when you decided to start here, first off, right, you look at the land, what was in your mind?
Well, I mean, like I was going to say, I've been glamping since before it was even really a thing. So I stayed in my first tent when I was in India in probably, I think it was like 2002, and it had a toilet in it. And ever since then, I've always like sought out unusual and unique places. And I just fell in love with the geodesic dome. I had no idea how hard those were to build if you want to build them to meet, residential building code. But we're there now. I mean, it has taken a long time. It's been quite a struggle, but the domes are awesome. So I knew I wanted domes. And when I found this property, I've been watching it for years, and it had like a big drop in pricing. It was right around the pandemic time. So I just hopped on it because there was another property I had looked at. I couldn't get it through permitting. I couldn't get the township behind it. Knowing now, I probably could have. It's just all about how you word things sometimes. But I was able to do this in South Haven, and it's 20 minutes from our home. So it's close, and it's just been really an incredible opportunity.
Awesome. So where are you now? Are you exactly where you want to be? Like, of all the things that you listed, did you plan on all that originally? Did you add as you go? Did you modify? Like, I know you're.
Oh yeah, I modify. I mean, like you were saying with pivoting, I modify multiple times a day. I change my mind a lot, and when
it's
you're
harder
in
to
a
do
project,
that when you're building a speakeasy, right? Because then you build it, and you can't be like, well, let me just tear that out.
Yeah. So, you have to modify based on what's allowed, right? And you have to modify based on the resources that you have and, what you can kind of do within your space, right? And what I really built this for was to be like a conglomeration of a lot of different people's efforts. Like we're looking for like teachers and people that want to do little side shows here where they can host classes. And, we've got private chef events. Like I really just built the space for people to exercise their creative freedom. So I'm a bit of an artist myself, and really just, this is a venue that has just allowed me to let my creative juices flow. And, that goes to everything else. Like the float tanks, that was not initially on my list, but I met a guy who was going to move to a treehouse spa in Oregon and couldn't take him up a tree with him. So I got them used, and boom, I had a couple of float tanks, and it's been pieces like that. I didn't want to put a fence around my whole pool. So I decided, I put containers around it so I didn't have to buy a fence. So I've got like 9 containers that surround my pool that I can use for, different activities, right? So I can use them as cabanas, I can use them as art studios, and you just kind of like lean into what assets you have and just start dreaming about what you can do with them. So.
Well, that's true. I mean, never let anything stop you if you want to accomplish something, right? Just like the same thing with Amanda, right? You wanted to accomplish something in glamping, you pivoted, and here you are, right?
Yes. That's
I mean,
awesome.
You still have bigger plans. Obviously, we all do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, some people don't. Some people are happy where they're at, but it feels like all three.
I want more. Like if I had $1 million a day, I could spend it very easily on all the dreams that I have. And, so many people come over and say, oh, you could do this, but you have to kind of curtail those, right? And say, what can I afford and what's realistic?
Well, and that's the thing. I've been in business for, I'm not brave enough to own a glamping resort because I couldn't deal with the permitting and the council and all those people who I feel like don't deserve to decide whatever I want to do with my land.
Right.
So I'm not brave enough to do that, but I've been in business since 2009, and that's the same thing the whole time. It never stops. It continues. It's I have all these ideas in my head. What can I realistically accomplish this year and next year and the next 6 months and whatever else? And so, it's one of the hardest things to learn is you can't move as fast as you want to sometimes.
That's right. I have been wanting to be open for a year, and we finally just ripped the Band-Aid off and opened up the clubhouse last week. So we're going to be open for floats, and we're doing our first float on Sunday. So, it's a slow build, right? You have to get people to know who you are and get people in the door, and the word spreads. So
how long have both of you been doing this? Amanda first?
I just started last year.
That's
so
okay. That's better than all the people who have never started.
Yeah.
Don't say just started. You actually did it.
Yeah, I mean, in my head, I was only planning it about 6 months, and then I was like, you know what? Now's the time, and so I got like my business license and all that in October, and my first rental was June of last year. So,
I mean, that's awesome. Like, again, we're going to try to fill an hour here, so I might pontificate a little bit where I normally would just defer to my guests, right? But I think that's really an important thing when you talk about an entrepreneur or a business owner to think about, because a lot of people who start their own business will sit there and say, well, I've only been doing it 6 months or a year or 2 years or 5 years or whatever. But the sheer amount of people who only envision it and never do it is mind blowing. Like
Absolutely.
billions of people, right? Maybe not.
Thank you. Yeah, I think being in the mindset of being okay to fail, I think was where I needed to be. And, if I was okay with failing, if it had done that, then I was okay to start. And I think that's, a hard position to get yourself in, but once you're there, I think it opens a lot of doors. So at least for me, that's how I kind of looked at it.
I think I completely agree with you. Missy, do you agree?
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had a lot of different business ideas. This is the big one for me, but I've had a lot of things I started and didn't finish, a lot of things that, I was dreaming about doing, but it just takes that special time and special thing to really just make you kick in and go for it.
Well, but I think what she's talking about too, and again, we're going to get back to glamping. We are sort of talking about glamping business, right? But I think that's really important to talk about the failing aspect of it, right? Because you have to be, like, to me, failing is a win, because that just shows me how not to do it. But it's one of the hardest things to deal with, because I still, like, every time I fail, even though I know that's a learning experience and in 6 hours I'll be fine, when I fail and get the email that a client is leaving or unhappy, or they didn't accept my proposal and chose somebody else, or whatever happens, the guy didn't accept the job, or like hundreds of different things, right? Then that's like you kind of kick yourself and wonder, could I have done something better? but then I get over it. Like now I get over it in like a couple hours, right? But previously, like I would just dwell, and you kind of like you overanalyze and you self-doubt, and those are the kinds of things that handicap a lot of people from moving forward, I think, with whatever their dreams are, is that fear.
That's true. Well, and you get to some point where you're too busy to worry and too busy to, stew.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that certainly helps with it, right? That certainly helps,
yeah.
because at the same time your failures are coming in, your wins are coming in. So, but yeah, it's definitely so. Glamping, when did you all like? I know you said, Missy, you've been glamping for a long time, and we know that it's been much more popular overseas. I don't know about India specifically, you said, but I know in the UK they've been glamping for a very long time. In South Africa, I think it's been a huge thing for a long time. They've got some big manufacturers over there and things like that. But when did you kind of first decide that you felt like this was a good business opportunity for you? And both of them.
Amanda, you want to go first?
Question, but yeah.
I mean, I'm probably the worst person to ask, because I literally came back from Yellowstone and was like, I need to do this. Like, I need to do this somehow. And I have a full-time job. I don't have a ton of resources, but I think that drive of how much I loved it and how much I really like to especially get children outside. I mean, I've done a lot of mission work, especially in Africa, and just seeing kids who are out every single day because they don't even have a roof over their heads. Bringing that to communities here was really important to me. And, I mean, I was never a glamper. I never really even liked camping. But then I started doing it, and I went to the glamping convention out in Colorado all by myself and met so many people. And I think that's just like, that was so inspirational, because you surrounded yourself with people who are like-minded. And here I didn't really have that. And when I went out there, it just almost solidified all my dreams. And, I think that's sort of just how it went. And it was just the energy that I got back from that. I put it in. I literally bought my tents the next day from someone that was there. And I was like, you know what? This is my money to lose. And, I'm going to go for it. So that's how I did it, which probably isn't the most genius thing, but it worked for me. And
Well, it's genius if it worked for you. Missy, I want to get to your answer, but give me 1 second. So Amanda, we talked about, you introduced yourself briefly, but talk us through what Glampology is and how it works. Like, I know you said you do a little bit of the indoor stuff, but what does it look like in the summer? What is your...
Sure. So in the summer, I've been doing people's homes where I will set up one of the big bell tents, and I put up to 6 air mattresses in there. Again, that comes with linens, some small decor, and they have it overnight or 2 nights, whatever they would like. And then, I pick it back up and I bring it back home. And again, I started last summer. So June was my first rental, which was an out-of-state rental. And then I was honestly just through social media booked every single weekend in the summer all the way to almost October. And that was just, I couldn't ask for a better year. And when I was doing that, people were asking, so many questions about, can I put this tent inside? And I'm like, you can't. And it was so hard to explain how big it is, because people out here aren't really used to this concept yet.
Yeah, and on the internet.
On the internet, it looks tiny. They were like, can I put that in my basement? I'm like, no, you can't. So then I was like, well, if I keep getting these kind of questions, what could I put in someone's basement? Which brought me to the indoor stuff during the winter months, which again is just the little tent teepees that people are doing, and I'm calling it glamping. So that's been working so far. So.
I mean, we've had so many discussions on this show about what the definition of glamping is. Is it camping? Is it glamping? Is it luxury camping? Is it, and everybody calls it a different term for a different situation. And I don't think there really is a definition. So go ahead, call it whatever you want, right? There's a rule. But so where's your ideal, like, where do you want to take this in the next couple of years? Do you want to you want to add more tents? Do you want to hire more staff? Are you happy with how you are now?
I mean, I never thought that I thought one rental was going to be successful in my eyes, and I booked a whole summer. So now I'm like, well, what can I do next summer? And ideally, I would really like to do some retreats for women.
Okay.
I'm also Reiki certified, so I really like that kind of stuff. And maybe if we could bring some communities like moms and stuff together and do some retreats like that, that would be something that I'd really like to do for this summer. That's a goal. And obviously a goal is to get more rentals in a weekend out too, do 2 or 3. And ideally, I mean, like I said, I would love to do weddings. So it's always in the back of my mind to look at land once in a while. I really want to get my name out there and a reputation before I start something like that. But, it's just been working and I'm grateful. So.
Well, you'll get there again, step by step by step, right? But I think your name is out there pretty well, and people have a lot of respect if you're booked every weekend, right? It looks like it's going well for you.
It did. It's nerve-wracking about next year, but I think it's when you see something working, you're like, how can I make this even bigger and better? And retreats would be a great thing and something I would really like to do. So that's my goal for this year.
Well, it sounds like you're on the right path. Again, like I'm only one person and I have an opinion, right? Doesn't mean I'm right or wrong. Well, I could be wrong, but probably am. But anyway, like we talked a lot about the experiences and experiential hospitality on the show too. And so I think that you're headed kind of in that right direction where I think, and I don't know the glamping industry as well as someone who would own it or operate the glamping show conference like David Korse does, or Ruben running the American Glamping Association and things like that, right? But I think that what I kind of took away from the last few years is that glamping necessarily wasn't overbuilt because we didn't have really that huge market that the UK does. But I think that people rushed into it really quickly, and some had great plans and some had okay plans and some had terrible plans. And a lot of it was based on financing that was completely different 2 years ago than it is today. And I think that what people are finding now as we head into an more uncertain economy than we have now, I think, is you have to set yourself apart somehow. You can't just throw up some tents, right? And whether that is I'm going to work locally and put it up in someone's yard because that's not something hundreds of people are doing for now, or that's the Reiki, or that's the speakeasy, or that's the whatever, right? I think that's the answer is how am I different? Because everybody can have a bell tent, but how do I make that experience in the bell tent different and unique? Would you agree with that, Missy?
Yeah, I tell you, well, I was going to say too, you have to work within your local regulations because I will tell you, there are a lot of people who've had a lot of really amazing ideas and then have even built things that are really incredible that won't pass, fire inspection or won't pass, you have to have a parking lot. Like what people think they can just throw a tent somewhere, but if you're going to leave it there permanently and the authorities find out about it, they're going to make you have parking. They're going to make you have a lot of things that you probably hadn't anticipated. So it's people that, have the dreams, which I fully support, but you got to make sure that you do it within the regulations, unfortunately.
Which is why
so I know California has cracked down like substantially and they've shut down tons of glamping places.
Which is why I'm not brave enough to ever own a glamping resort. I can't do it. I get frustrated with like the rules around my service business for marketing.
I'm telling you, pitchforks when I came in and fire and brimstone. And honestly, I went through everything on my own. You just have to know how to speak to the planning commission because you have to be able to read between the lines, right? And kind of say, well, they didn't call this out. So if I can make what I want to do fit into these boxes, if I can word it in such a way that they don't have any objections, then, there's a chance I can get it approved. But it's really spending the time to analyze what the restrictions and the codes are. So, I mean, you try to get a geodesic dome approved in the state of Michigan. I did it by myself, so I did not hire a huge team of people to do it, but I just went at it in the best way that I could. And every time they said no, I went back and I thought about it and I came back at it until, I finally got good at it. I mean, the other day I had the inspector come over and he went through, because we just got our building final inspected, and he went into a bathroom and he said, your toilet is off by 1/4 of an inch. And I was like, 1/4 of an inch? I was like, what do you want me to do about that? He said, you're going to have to get a new toilet. And I was like, he said, well, or you can get a new toilet seat. And I said, these are made for the toilet. I can't get a new toilet seat for this. And he was like, well, you're going to have to get a new toilet. And then I thought about it and I said, what about if I got like a spacer to put under that toilet seat that could raise it 1/4 of an inch. And he said, that would be fine. And you know what? You have to realize that those are the kind of people that you're dealing with. They are not going to lead you to water. They're going to let you hang yourself because it's one last place that they have to inspect. Right. And, you know, it's not just that person in particular. He's just trying to do his job. Right. And he's watching in case somebody else is watching. But I mean, you have to figure out how you're going to get your thing done. And that's the tenacity of being an entrepreneur, really, in my opinion.
Well, for sure. There's so many things that are involved in it. I mean, a lot of people, like, it's been glorified over the last 5 or 6 years, but a lot of people think it's just showing up and ordering your employees around and then going home and collecting a check. And it's not really like that, right?
No. Do you know how many people have applied with me that they want to be the person that goes out and makes the connections, and they do not want to get their hands dirty? I mean, I'm routinely in that mud myself. Like, I'm doing those floors myself. You know, there's things that I'm doing. I'm not afraid of work, but I mean, a lot of people who have come and really, they want the glory of it. I say it's as sexy as owning a weed business now. Do you remember when that was starting? I mean, I don't know, you know, where you guys are, what your rules are, but there in Michigan, there's one on every corner. But when it first started and it was happening in Michigan, but not Chicago, it was everybody's cousin or brother or someone was like trying to get into the business and, you know, trying to be a partner somewhere. And it's just it doesn't work like that. You still have to have a business mind, you know, so.
I don't want to get us too far off the path here, but I do want to know, what is the danger of having a toilet seat that is 1/4 inch off kilter? Like, what could it happen?
Well, you know, I'll tell you, it's ADA. It's ADA regulations,
okay,
which you think would be very clear cut, but they're different from area to area. So I still, if I had known, I bought a toilet seat that said it was ADA approved. ADA approved in what state? I have no idea, but not my state. So
that's that's just stuff I couldn't deal with, right? Like, every city, every jurisdiction, every county has different rules and regulations, and
it is incredibly frustrating, you know, but you have to realize, like, if you want to play the game, you know, just then play it, right? Play the game in your own way, but know that the game is afoot, and, you know, don't be playing checkers when everybody else is playing chess. So, and it took me years to get to that point where I was like, oh, I understand what's happening. You guys are screwing me. But it takes a little bit, you know, like I'd never spoken in front of a planning commission before. And I didn't realize when they ask a question, just say, I don't know what this is going to look like. They're not asking for you to answer. They're just thinking out loud. If you answer, they're just looking for information to hang you with.
I don't know if we can lump all the planning commission people into that bucket.
No, not all the planning commission people. Okay. I'm just saying going through the process is supremely difficult, and they're operating within, you know, their own set of guidelines and right.
But who's tried to screw them before too, and
being a novice, you don't know what you don't know. And it depends on if your city wants something like that. And if that individual that's voting wants something like that, you know.
Regulations are tough. Like, I was born in the United States, right? And so I live in Canada now, but I lived there most of my life. And so I'm familiar with the political dynamic between the people who want more regulations and the people who maybe want less regulations, and then the people in the middle who feel like we just want less regulations, but we still want to be safe in the plains, right? And things like that.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting because the people who usually want less regulations also don't want, and I know this is oversimplifying, but like the United Nations or stuff like that. It would almost be easier to just have one government who owned everything, and then they would all have the same toilet seat height.
That's why I'm
get less regulation with more government.
Uh-huh. Yeah, no, I mean, it has really been an eye opener for me. Like, I had no idea what went on. I mean, even when we're going through like the permitting process, it's almost like, you know, it's big government on a little scale, because if you're doing it out in the country, you know, it's like you're stacking the votes. Which way do you think this one's going to vote? Which way do you think this one's going to vote? You know, and it's really, it's been fascinating, and it's been really fun. It's been very frustrating, but it's been a great learning experience, you know. And I mean, honestly, like I've been through things that, you know, most people will never go through, but it's been, you know, a massive highs and massive lows. That's what being in business is.
What were some of the things you had to deal with, Amanda, when you were trying to start up your business? I mean, I know it's different not owning the land through the permitting process, but certainly there were still things.
Shipping delays. Right?
I didn't have too much. I mean, I think it was just how much I wanted to spend, how much I wanted to put out there. And honestly, I'd say how much time and energy was honestly my biggest hurdle, because I do have a full-time job, and it was difficult to figure out if I wanted to leave that or if I could, or I think that's what was stressful for me. I mean, I didn't have to go through many regulations. Definitely finding liability insurance was difficult.
That's
Um,
it, yeah.
because
You're putting
out
other things in
here,
the yard, right? Like what happens if the little child plays with a lighter and sets the tent on
yeah.
fire?
Yeah, and here, no, I called like 6 to 10 places, and they were like, "What are you trying to do?" And I was like,
Yeah.
you know,
That's what happens in campgrounds, and there's like 8,000 of them in the U.S., 12,000 or something in the U.S.
yeah, but they just could not grasp like what they're insuring essentially. That was honestly probably the biggest hurdle. And I did get liability insurance. I still don't even know if it really covers everything. Like I just went with it. I was like,
You're
"Oh,
supposed
you're
to
gonna
say that on a
Wow.
live show in front of the whole internet.
But that honestly was probably my biggest hurdle. And just myself was my biggest hurdle as well. Is just, everybody yapping in your ear, and you being able to overcome what everybody else's opinions were also was a hurdle for me. But no, I didn't have any regulations with toilets or land or anything like that. And, I'm sure if I get bigger, it will be harder. And I know looking into just doing this retreat, even down the street at a senior center, I mean, it was like 18 pages long of things that I have to make sure I have for this, including parking and all. You just don't think of that kind of stuff. So I'm sure a lot of more hurdles are going to come my way, but
Well, and all those are hurdles, so they're all equal, right? Just because you have to deal with a planning commission versus dealing with paperwork, it's all the same kind of. I'm an entrepreneur. I have to learn all this stuff. I have to understand what I have to go through and fix and not fix and know and not know and all those kinds of things, right? And so I think there's no less of a problem than any other problem that you have to go through, or learning experience that you have to go through. At least that's kind of my opinion with the whole process. So I don't know if you guys share that, but I was probably going to lead somewhere, but my mind was totally blank.
I definitely think too. I mean, like I've said before, surrounding yourself with people who have done this, or just the energy. Like I went to that convention. I went to a campground, or I think it was a campground convention out in South Carolina. I'm
Okay.
going to do the one in the UK in September. Like I think just being around people who have the same energy is so important. At least it was for me, because I was like, okay, I'm not crazy. This has been done, and these people have been successful, and they've started just like I have with literally nothing. But your ideas. So I think
Well, and
that.
that's actually what I was going to say. It's the same challenge you go through with the people chirping in your ear, right? The people who don't understand. Like my mother still doesn't understand what I do. I have 27.
My
27
mother still
employees
calls
and
my
still,
dumb yurts. Yeah.
like I think probably 5 or 6 years into the company, she was still trying to get me to work at a local hospital here as an IT person. Mom, like I have 6 employees, I'm fine. I don't need to go quit my right. But that's different, right? But it's the chirping in the ear of the people who don't understand, don't want to understand sometimes. And if you listen to those people, it's just the same thing as the hesitation to fail. You have
Yeah.
to find those like-minded people who have done it before. And certainly there's a grain of salt. Like you have to listen, weigh both sides sometimes, right? But yeah, that's equally as challenging and frustrating. At least it was for me. So, all right. Well, what else are we going to talk about? We got 26 minutes to fill up, guys. Normally we have 4 or 5 other guests here, but so what is
Well, we're
glamping?
just lucky. We've got the floor, Amanda. What do you
I
want to talk
know.
about?
Well, I guess maybe what about if we
Shut
ask
up.
a question?
Nobody wants to hear me talk. Well, please, if you guys could just.
Amanda, we can just interview each other.
Well, I
So
know. I mean, I kind of wanted to just see, like, pick your brain as to, like,
yeah, and I have a couple questions for you too.
Go
So
for it.
I
Yeah.
mean,
shoot.
did you have people saying,
Oh my
chirping in
God,
your ear and
still.
how you kind of
Oh,
overcame
still.
that. And
People thought I had lost my mind,
yeah.
you know. So they're like, what are you doing? You've got 3 kids and you're moving to Michigan to do this glamping thing on this golf course. Like, why? I had been in medical sales for years, you know, and honestly, like during COVID, couldn't get into the hospitals. Like the kids are bouncing off the walls. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. Like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. Like, it's my time, right? Like, I have sacrificed so much for, you know, my kids, my job, whatever. And I was like, I want to do something that I want to do that's going to give me joy in my heart, right? So that's kind of what, speaking of, it's a snow day today. And I want something that's going to bring my kids joy, right? And something that can kind of be like a legacy for our family. And they're like, but I don't understand. You're building a yurt, you know, like who's gonna, how much you're gonna charge for it, you know? So it's there's always people that question everything, you know, and then they want you to do it their way, and you got to do some things on your own terms, you know. So that'd be brave, right?
What you went through sounds like something I never want to do or can do.
You know what?
I'm
strong.
It
will show you.
That.
Yeah.
I know how hard.
Thank you. It will show you what your metal is made of. And I will tell you, you know, you're starting with your indoor glamping. Like, you could do something like this. I'm not a rocket scientist, you know. So, I mean, it's just, you have to figure it out. And if you've got, you know, a couple brain cells, you're good to go, you know. Just take it slow. So don't overdo it. Like, I learned from me, I overdid it. I do have a question for you though about yours. So how much are you charging a night to bring that whole thing out?
Yeah, so back to a challenge. That was a challenge.
Yeah,
I didn't
figuring that out.
really have much competition. There was one person way down in the Cape, and then there was one person that was much north in Massachusetts who was charging $725 a night.
See,
So
I mean,
I
that's
had
a
to
lot of
say,
money, but I know how much it takes to set up those dome tents. Like, how many hours are you spending doing that? Trekking it out there, setting it up.
6-person tent in an hour and 15 minutes. So is it
by yourself?
Yeah. So I mean, not that I like to. I did hire my little cousin, but you know, I personally couldn't charge that. Like, I just don't think it was worth that.
You wouldn't pay that, or were you
$700? So I took $700, and then I called a couple places that were down in Rhode Island, which is the next state over, and they were charging about, I think like 4 or 5. So I basically went with, I think I started at 300 just to get my name out there. But since it was so successful, I had a SCORE mentor who is like a small business mentor, and he was like, raise the price now. And I did. I went up to 4, and that seemed to be working. So, you know, right now I charge 4 a night, and that's up to
here's where I'm at. And big shout out to SCORE too. I use them as well. So, I mean, it's a great resource for people that are just getting started. So, my question is, so my domes have bathtubs. They are almost 400 square feet. They have heat, they have AC, and they're like designed to the nines, right? And I've got people pushing back when I'm like, and we've got a humongous like heated pink pool, all these cabanas, and the funkiest like clubhouse you've ever seen, right? And I'll say, and we're going to include breakfast. And I'm like, hey, I want to do this, and you know, I'll include breakfast, and I'd like to charge like, you know, maybe like $450 or $500 a night on the weekends. And we're right by the beach, and people are like, oh my God, never. But then
I'm thinking like I would stay there very easily. You know,
well, and see, that's what I need to find the people like that, you know, because I have, you know, some older people in my life, and they really just think it's too much. And because most of my community, I'll be honest with you, it's a lot of retirees out there. But in the summer, it's a lot of everybody. And we're 2 hours from Chicago. And I'm like, you know, I'll catch you locals some great deals because we're going to be open in the winter time too. And we'll chop all those rates in half. And just because I want to find staff that I can keep going through the down season, right? I don't want to have just a huge Rolodex of people that like, you know, turn and burn every summer. I just want to have, you know, like people I can depend on always. You know, like I had a woman come over yesterday, and I will tell you, I'm hiring older people because a lot of the younger people, I've seen them, and I have 3 younger people of my own. There's not a lot of work ethic there, but there's a lot of older people who they want to get out of the house. They want something to do. They're not done yet, you know? And I mean, honestly, I've had several women come to my place that are older and say, I want to be a part of this, right? Like I want to volunteer. And I mean, that's just like, it's great. If they see your vision and everything like that, I just think there's a lot of upside with it.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, for me and maybe, for you is to make a lot of phone calls.
That's what we're doing
with
now. Yeah.
campgrounds who are doing something similar, but also like the resorts and hotels who are matching almost what you're offering. And even though they're a hotel, if they're charging $400 a night, why can't you? I mean, to me, so I'll be in Michigan in actually June, so I will definitely come by.
Look it,
But
Amanda, you're coming.
for me, coming from Boston, like people would pay that here, but again, you have to see what people around you are, their financial status too.
Right.
But
so did you read the glamping report?
I know that they put one out when I was at the convention.
Oh, it's awesome. Brian, have you read it?
I've read some of it. Yeah, I mean, we report.
Oh, it's great. Like they do one every year, and the lady who writes it is like the CEO of Oh, who is it? Isn't it?
Is it like Marriott? I know Marriott people.
No, it's not. It's a campground. What are those things called? KOA. But so the KOA has its own little like glamping test site that they're doing, but they did the whole report. So they did the first report. Tiramore, yeah. They did it in like 22, and every year, I mean, I just like, I scour that thing through and I read every detail because their information is spot on. And domes command a higher price point, than anything else because let's face it, everyone's got like, I always call it the four walls of a Marriott. Like a lot of people haven't ever experienced sleeping in something round, and I mean, your bell tents are like that too. So you give people like a unique accommodation. You can afford to charge more for it, but you're like, where's that sweet spot? I don't know. Have you considered doing food with yours or doing like any activities with it?
Yeah. This summer I'm going to offer like a picnic type of thing, with like little cushions and stuff. Cause that's sort of in right now.
Oh my God, it's so in.
I think it's more going to be like, I will set up the picnic and they'll have to be responsible for food because I just don't, want that liability right now.
Let me tell you, there's a place here in South Haven and they set up these gorgeous like boho beach picnics on the public beach. They bring the stuff, the people pay $69 or $79 a night, just to go and sit on a pillow. The only thing they provide is sparkling water. They have to bring everything else, and they have the option to buy like a charcuterie board for them or whatever. Yes. People want to sit in a beautiful environment, right? They don't care so much what they're doing. It's if they're in something that's wonderful. You can have something small for entertainment, like we're going to do like palm readers, and we've got people doing like foraging walks and stuff like that. But just to give you like, there's a lot of like people you could subcontract with just to come and say, hey, you want to come read palms over here for, like an hour? How much would you charge me? That would love to do a little side hustle like that. And that just builds so much value, because you can say, I'm offering this.
Do you have to screen the palm readers to make sure they actually can tell fortunes correctly, or?
I had a party a couple of years ago and I had a friend come and pretend to be a palm reader, and I had an actual palm reader there. And you know what? Like, people just want to be entertained.
Oh, I agree.
Do you think any of them are real?
To be clear,
I want to hear what you
like. I don't know that palm reading is fake. Like I
don't know it's fake either, but it's about making that connection.
Sorry, I didn't interrupt you guys. You're having a good conversation. I'll shut up again.
Oh no. Well, so here's my thing. If you're going to have that business where you're doing it inside, how much do you charge for inside?
Insides, right now, $200. They have to have two, so $200 for two, and then each additional is $30. But for me, it's so much easier. I'm there for a half an hour versus an hour and 15, and it takes half the time to take down. So to me, that's worth that money. And people are going crazy over it, and not just mine, but other people are doing it here too. And
you should. I have a good idea for you. What about setting it up at a hotel? People do that on the hotel balconies. They do it in Chicago and they charge a ton for it. So they'll put it like where the penthouse is, and they'll set it up on their like terrace or something, and then like add an extra $1,000 to it.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about the add-ons, I mean,
It
The
is.
connections
It
I've
is.
made, I had a charcuterie lady, so I was offering that. I had a balloon lady that was making balloon arches for the tents, and people are
Yeah.
just loving it. So
Yeah.
it's funny how something, can just branch out just
Yeah.
from social media and things like that.
You feel like, so here's my thing. I feel like we're entering into a new kind of era, and things will come in and come out. And I feel like the charcuterie board has had its day. And I feel like we need to find something new. Have you seen the butter boards?
But I
Oh, you
like
have to
butter
do
if it has.
I do
That's what it
too.
is.
They do these beautiful, beautiful things with butter, and then have all these different like breads,
Breads,
and
yeah.
it's got like flowers and nuts and stuff in it. I think those are really cool. You just have to keep watching your Pinterest.
Yeah. Yeah.
How's your feed?
That's true. I don't do a lot on that, but I need to get involved in like TikTok and stuff for sure.
I tried. I literally just got 200 followers like yesterday because I finally figured out that I have been tagging stuff wrong. There was one group that I wanted to be in, and it was like South Haven Douglas recommended. And I swear I had posted on there, and I kept thinking, oh, somebody there doesn't like me because they never put my stuff up. Like I'll put it in there, and I don't ever see it. And then I figured out, I read the rules, and it said you must say what city your business is in. So nobody knew what my business was or where it was. So it was just getting deleted. So I finally said I was in, South Haven.
I thought you were good with following all the rules and details and all that stuff.
Oh no, I'm horrible. I'm petrified. Getting red tagged or shut down. I've seen it happen to people. I do not want that happening to me. So yeah, no, everything else. Yeah.
You gotta get on those mom groups too. Those are,
Girls trips too. I think I want to get into girls trips. So I love your idea about doing retreats. And I have talked to a lot of people that do like metaphysical work, because a lot of those, that kind of thing happens within a retreat. I mean, you're a Reiki certified, right? Like we're talking to a Reiki person right now. I've never done Reiki before. I'm super interested in it. Why don't you include Reiki in it? You're a practitioner.
I do, but there was no bites to that one, but that's okay.
No,
you have to be there longer than 30 minutes.
What?
You want to be longer than 30 minutes. You have to be there longer.
How long is a Reiki session? I have no idea.
You can do it like 15 minutes to an hour to 2 hours. I mean, people can go for a long time. I had it done one time
in Banff.
Did you?
It was a combination of that and like a meditation thing. They had us. It was me and a woman, a girl I used to date. We laid down at a table in a dark room or something, and they did both at the same time, or I don't know. It was the most relaxing.
And then do they it's like energy healing, right?
They don't touch you.
No, they just put their hands around you and absorb the energy.
It's wild, the stuff you pick up.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. I would like to do it one day. How long did it take you to get certified?
The course was like a couple days or something like that. It was super easy.
Oh, you don't feel like it was like a gift that you were born with? It's something you can anybody, like I could learn to do Reiki if I want to?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think you have to be in that kind of mindset for sure.
Yeah.
And believe in it and believe that it works. That's not for everyone. So I think if you can believe it, and yeah, I mean, I've done it a couple times where like I've picked on someone's health condition, and that was yeah. So
that's cool. Yeah. I talked to a friend the other day, and her sister is a like a medium, and every time she sees like an extra, like some sort of a spirit, and she has to cleanse it, it like goes into her body, and then it makes her really weak. Like it brings her energy down. I didn't know. I've never heard anybody tell me a story about a family member that did something like that before. So it's so foreign to me. I think I'm fascinated by all of it. But you always have to, like be there for yourself to see it. I'll tell you what, I'll trade you a Reiki session for a float tank when you're in Michigan.
Okay, that sounds great.
Have you floated before?
I have not.
Oh,
that and ice bath has been on my list to do. So
yeah, floating is so cool. So I had only floated like probably 5 or 6 times before I got these tanks, and it was like just kind of like I said, Brian, earlier, it was like a knee-jerk decision to do it. And so I was like, I got to learn about this now, So I started listening to all these podcasts about it and really started drinking the Kool-Aid. And I'm so busy, I don't get much of a chance to do it like I should, but I've got just like debilitating ADHD. And so to get into the tank, it helps me just clarify, and really have a path of what I want to do. But people use it for all different things, so it's probably a lot like what you do, right? Like some people identify with it in a certain way, and the more exposure you have to that concept, the more you start to understand it and the more you start to believe in it, right?
Well, yeah, that's everything in life, right? I mean,
yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know if any of that stuff works, but I'm open to anything, right?
Me too. And that's why I feel like I'm a bit of a cynic, but I always feel like I just want everything. I want to see all the weird stuff. Like I want to see all the fringy stuff because I'm a fringy person, so I just, what's that?
It's interesting. Like I was watching, I don't know if you guys know Gary Vaynerchuk. He runs a big marketing company. He's really big on social media and stuff like that. But I was watching one of his keynote speeches the other day, and he was talking about oysters. And he literally just asked the audience, he was up on a panel on stage, like how many people hate oysters? 60% of the people raised their hand. Like, keep your hands up. Now tell me how many people have ever tried an oyster, right? And so it's interesting.
Oh, it's interesting.
So it's very interesting to see how like you can judge things and decide things without ever investigating or researching or whatever.
Oh, so. Absolutely. That's why I kind of feel like my place is going to finally give me time where I haven't had a chance to do all that stuff because I've been so busy having like people come and do stuff and I'll be like, hey, and then I'm going to trade you this for, a little bit of that or whatever. And to like be a voyeur, right, to all of that and just be able to, have it in my own home. It's probably like people who want to glamp in their own house. You want to just do something in the comfort of your own home sometimes, right? So. Yeah,
100%. So where do you guys go from here? We got about 9 minutes left, so you can each have 4.5 minutes.
Let's see. What are you coming to Michigan for, Amanda?
We're just doing a road trip. Oh, We're
fun.
trying to do all 50 states, so we only have like, I don't know, maybe 15 or so left. Michigan's one of them. So
do you want any local recommendations on what to do in the area?
Totally. You can definitely.
Yeah. Are you gonna like do top to bottom, or are you doing the hand? Because Michigan's like this. It's like a hand. They call it the glove. And then this.
I want to do as much as we can. I know she wanted to go to some kind of island thing. If you said it, I'd know it, but
yeah, I know. I know what it is. It's where the Grand Hotel is and everything.
Mackinac Island or?
Mackinac Island.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're definitely
I'm going to point out, while they talk about this for the next couple minutes for everybody who's watching, this is one of the skills you should have as a hospitality owner, the ability to guide your people and help them with whatever they need.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll give you a breakdown. So are you going to do top to bottom or are you just heading straight to Mackinac?
I would say probably top to bottom. I mean, we have like 5 days, or 6 days. So I think we'll try to do everything.
I would say your weather is still going to be proper crap in the UP, which is this area. Okay. It snows there. Like I went to school there and in October, the snow was over the stop sign. So, once you've seen the Great Lakes, they look like oceans. They're so big, right? So if you're going to go to Mackinac Island, like Traverse City is like really great. Yep. Is that on your list?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so by the time you go to Mackinac and you go to Traverse City and you go to Daydreamer, that's really all you have time for.
Where are you located? Like in the.
Okay. So if I'm on the hand, Traverse City is like right here. I'm right here.
Okay.
Are you driving or are you flying?
We are driving. We're doing a road trip. So we'll have
out of Michigan, so you have to go past her at some point.
Yeah. I would have to look at a map, but I think if you just come this way is what I would do, right? And then where do you go from Michigan?
We haven't really decided yet. Maybe Chicago, maybe North Dakota. I would really, I don't know. The world is gonna.
Yeah. Well, if you start at the top and go around, you go to Chicago, right? If you go here and you're up at Mackinac and go around this way, you're in Wisconsin.
Yeah, but if she comes down the west side of Michigan through Traverse City, you're straight down from Traverse City.
Right.
And then she goes and loops around to Chicago and she's fine.
Chicago, I mean, if you hit it right with the traffic, you can get to Chicago, like from my place in 2 hours.
It's going to take a long time, a lot more to drive there. So.
Yeah, I know. I'm like 5 days. You want to try to do all that in 5 days? That's ambitious.
Like 9, but I'm just saying by the time we get there, it's probably going to take a whole day to drive out there. So yeah, we love road trips.
Yeah, fun. I'll have my pool open by then, so you can come lay by the pool.
Yeah, I'm gonna take your time
Take it
kind
all
of
in.
traveler. I don't know if you guys are, but like
I'm a big traveler, so.
we went
Yeah.
to Iceland in September. And
Oh,
Been there
everybody-
3 times. I cannot get enough of it.
Oh,
But like
Jealous.
everybody kept telling us, go around the ring or the whole ring road. And the ring road, like we were there for 2 weeks, like 12 days,
Yeah.
right? Go around.
right before the volcano.
And we realized like if we were going to go around the ring road and see it all, we would have had to drive like 4 to 6 hours a day. I don't want to do that.
Mhm.
So we just did the whole side, the south side of the island and up through the peninsula
Yeah.
and back by the glacier, and then we'll go back.
But you know what I do have to tell you though, my husband's from the Czech Republic and to go to Croatia. And so to go from the Czech Republic to Croatia, you have to go through Slovenia. And I said, well, gosh, if we're gonna go through Slovenia, let's like check some stuff out and see what's in Slovenia. And he was like, oh, there's nothing in Slovenia. Just like, we'll go to Croatia, like classic Eastern European, right? And I got a book because every time we go somewhere, I get another book and I read it cover to cover. And because I just do that one country, right? And so this time I was like, well, let's stop, take a little extra time. And I was on maternity leave at the time, actually. And so we went to Slovenia and it was amazing. It was so great, but he would never have given it a second thought, but it's like learning about things too, right? Or talking to someone about what you should do.
But it's also like where you grow up, whatever's closer to you, and people don't realize how close Europe is to all the other countries, right?
Oh, it is. It is. Yeah.
But you grow up by it. Like I lived in Florida for a few years, and like when we moved there, we were 9 miles. We were in Ormond Beach, north of Daytona. When we moved there, we're gonna go to the beach every day. We're gonna go to Disney World all the time. We're 45 minutes away from it, like 3 times. Then you're bored, and then everybody who flies down there is like, "Let's go to Disney." Really, you want to go to Disney World?
Oh my God. Ugh,
So it's wherever you move is my point. Like whatever's closer to you.
That's why I feel so bad for people in the Midwest because it's just there's no skiing here. There's not a lot of good rock hounding. There's not, there's just they don't have a lot. I don't know, like to offer. And then you get out here like, well, there's really great biking trails, right? If you like fishing, there's really great fishing. Yeah. People love hunting out here, but it's hard, for like little kids because it's a lot of the same scenery, and everything's that, the same people, same currency, whatever. You go to Europe and, you can like go through 3 countries, in a day. So.
Yeah. I mean, I've driven all over, like I've been to I spent years bootstrapping my company in the beginning, driving around in a Jeep with my girlfriend at the time and stepdaughter. And so I went through, like, it all kind of looks the same to me, right? Generally speaking, shopping.
No way. You know what? Me and Andre together, we've been to 53 countries. So, you gotta go where it's gritty.
Oh, no. I like to be clear. Like, I know there's different pieces of this. Like, I haven't done all the country travel yet, right?
Yeah.
But speaking from the United States perspective on the main roads.
Oh, yeah.
Towns is what I mean.
Yeah.
It's the same.
Yeah,
that doesn't mean there aren't things to do. Doesn't mean there aren't reasons to visit those places, right? Generally speaking,
optics.
A lot of the same scenery, yeah. So,
yeah.
All right, we got 2 minutes left. Amanda, do you want to add anything to your? I feel like I asked about future plans, and then we went off onto something else that was more valuable. But that's fine.
Touched on that future plans, so definitely retreats for me. But yeah, no, I'm super. I can't wait. I'm definitely gonna stop by Missy.
Great.
I'm excited for that and. Good luck with everything. I can't wait.
Seriously,
to see it.
Best of luck. And if you ever have anything you have a question about, feel free to call me and I'm happy to weigh in and look forward to meeting you and Reikiing together.
Yes, totally.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, you're welcome. Let's just we'll wrap it up a couple minutes early here. So thank you guys for joining us for another episode of MC Fireside Chats. We will be back next week with our Campground Autofocus episode, hopefully with a few more guests that will show up due to the holidays being a little bit more over. But thank you guys. It was a great show. Like I really enjoyed the back and forth between you guys. I got to figure out ways to encourage that more, I think, between our guests, because there's a lot of value that I think you both unlock with each other that was way more valuable than me talking. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. Wish you all the best of luck with both of your businesses, and we'll follow up soon. Have a great summer.
Awesome. Okay.
Thank
guys.
you.
Okay, bye.
For joining us for this episode of MC Fireside Chats with your host, Brian Searl. Have a suggestion for a show idea? Want your campground or company in a future episode? Email us at hello@moderncampground.com. Get your daily dose of news from moderncampground.com. And be sure to join us next week for more insights into the fascinating world of outdoor hospitality.